So, just starting here, and we'll go down the line. Tell us a little bit about what your career trajectory was before you made this film in particular. I know it's a while back, so try to think of it. So, what led you to make this short? We'll talk about the shorts in particular, but I want to know a little bit about your backgrounds.
Well, I was a musician for years, and I did that. And I always loved movies. I wanted to be a filmmaker from when I was very young. I had a book called Making Movies, and it was like how to raise money from a dentist to make your film. And I was fascinated with it. I always loved films, but then I got caught the music bug, went on tour for years, fast forward. That didn't work out. I had a crazy weekend one weekend, and at the end of it, I was like, that would make a great movie. And I just decided to do it. I was a photographer, or I still am a photographer, believe it or not. And I decided what a natural progression it was to go from photography to filmmaking. And Lonely Hearts is my third short film. My first short film was The Weekend.
Great. Very good.
It's real interesting. 2020 was kind of like the start of a next wave of filmmaking for me. That was like my first big like TV project, came out that February. And then I'm like, oh great, like now this documentary, I did this documentary for ESPN, and I'm like, this thing's gonna blow up, and then everyone's gonna be calling me, and then the world shut down right after that. And then they were like, oh yeah, this SAG-AFTRA thing, we're gonna have to delay it. So it was like all these good things were happening. And then they started to get postponed and stuff. But I kind of fell into directing by accident. I always just wanted to write. And I had someone I was collaborating with, and long story short, he told me I didn't know shit about video. So I'm pretty competitive. So I was like, all right, I went to YouTube University, and the rest is history, you know, a bunch of films later. And now I'm looking at work we did 5 years ago, just thinking of all the things we could have did better.
Same.
Okay, that's fine. Sirad?
Hi. Since high school and college, I was always doing experimental films and documentaries, and came to New York and started working in the actual film business, co-producing feature films mostly, and but always wanted to make a short and do something on a bigger scale. So that's what I've been doing. I've been basically here doing that. And then this, my partner in my foundation in Give Film, came to me with her son's story from school that he wrote called The Lockdown, and she said to me, can we make this into a film? And of course, definitely, absolutely, passionate about, talking about this subject matter since Sandy Hook, as, mothers that we are. So it was just an opportunity to be able to, put all of that together. So, so this is my first short film, I guess, I would say.
Great. Alexander?
Hi. Well, first of all, thanks for the time capsule that we all experienced. I think all the filmmakers on this panel, it's probably a little surreal watching these films after having some time away from them. So it was fun to rediscover the project. The thing that led me to Missing was I'm an advertising director for the most part, and the Alexa LF had just come out, and I was one of the first guys in New York to pick one up and went into major debt for it. And had the camera, had the Cooke S7, so it was mostly a glorified kind of camera test. We wanted to push it to its limits, see what it looked like in interiors, naturally lit, exteriors. That's why the funny aspect ratio, because we shot open gate. And so, instead of just going out and shooting a boring lens test, we've decided to make a little film about it. So it was fun to send a photo of the brand new camera with Cooks in a canoe, rigged very precariously, and send it right to my contact at Ari Gunter, and he almost shit his pants, I think, over text message seeing that thing. He still sends it around from time to time. So.
All right. Yeah.
It's really fun to see a film that you made such a long time ago. This was my film that I made at Columbia when I did my MFA, and I predominantly see myself as a writer, but to become a better writer, you also should direct and work with other people in different fields. And yeah, that's it.
Great. All right, since you already have the mic
Yeah.
in your mouth, let's continue, and we'll come this way this time. Tell us about the origin of this story and how you got to the decision to make it, and the process of writing, or just the development.
Yes. So I came from like a thought of, trying to make it few actors. I like eerie imagery. I like the color. I like tone. I like being somewhat uncomfortable when you watch films. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden, so I think that's a part of like my filmmaking, and where I've learned how to like read stories and do things. It was also, when I was thinking about it now, I think there was so much discussion of Me Too and putting blame and who has responsibility and who's of age and who should know better than someone else. So I think that was very much on my mind 2019, 2020, now that I think back. Yeah.
Great. Alexander?
Same question.
Yeah, same question.
We were sort of exploring the idea with this one about somebody who becomes obsessed with trying to figure out this mystery and this trauma that he's been through, and in that process becomes a missing person himself. It was kind of an interesting exploration just on how to tell a story with as minimal dialogue as possible. The only real dialogue is Paul has one little monologue with our actress off camera, and then Alex Truer-Wheeler here, my editor and co-producer, was also in the film over voiceover. And so it was really interesting to kind of navigate how to tell a story through visuals primarily, and then also go deeper into that psychological mindset of sort of the obsession becoming the reason why now he is a missing person, and how cyclical that was.
Okay. Great.
Oh, okay. Well, I spoke a little bit about it, but yeah. So my partner in our foundation, came to me with Caleb's story, and we immediately went to work making it into a film. This actually was about 2 months before Parkland, so the passion to make the film was, for years and years, around this subject matter. But so Parkland happened, and I think it just even, threw us even, into even more, of a fury to get it done and to raise the money and all of that. So, I think it's, I could really talk a lot about it, so I don't know but that was the origin of it, and then bringing, and then Caleb Brown, who's here, right? Hi, Caleb. And Joshua, is Joshua here? Hi, Josh, who plays Jaden. 11 years old. It was really, for me, very worrisome going into it, how to work with kids around this subject matter. And, I just found that, they really knew what they were doing, because they are more experienced at doing lockdowns than any of us adults. So getting them all together, it was really almost eerily natural for them to do what they had to do in the film. And everybody who was involved in it was so passionate about the subject matter. And, the children were all almost like little activists in themselves. They understood, what we were trying to say and the message of the film. So it was, so the whole experience was an experience, so that's how it came together.
Great. Greg, the impetus,
15 is actually born out of a sad time. I was working on I got a chance to work on a documentary for HBO, and I had a flight, and I was playing in like a basketball league, and I looked at the time. I'm like, I could play and get home, take a shower, get to the flight. I go to play. I tear my ACL, tore my ACL, and then got straight on the plane because it's HBO. I'm not gonna miss that check, right? So my knee blows up by the time I land. My knee is like huge. I had to drag my leg, and long story short, I had to get reconstructive knee surgery. So I couldn't play basketball, but I had like this competitive drive, and I started playing pool. So me and Mac, who's one of my best friends who starred in 15, we were just playing pool all the time. And I was never a great pool player, but if I got in like a zone, I could like make a lot of shots in a row. So we were just playing pool. I couldn't play basketball, playing pool every night. And then we were like, let's make a movie about this. And so that's why you got this fallen basketball player who's hard on his luck. Like, that's where the story came from.
All right. Memories of yourself sitting and nursing your ego about your... All right.
Now I'm curious
Good,
where
good.
this serial killer story comes from.
Yeah, same place. Yeah, so...
Oh yeah, we were like, where are we gonna get sandwiched in between all these? The comedy. I love true crime podcasts, and I listen to Last Podcast on the Left, and they were doing this series or this one show about this failed serial killer attempt where he catfished the wrong way. So I went to Bethany, my partner, who's right over there. Hi, Bethany. She stars in the show. She produced it. She wrote it. She's brilliant. She's amazing. She's my filmmaking partner. We just made a TV show together. And so what happened was I pitched her the idea. I said, what if we do a catfish that goes wrong? And it's two serial killers that catfish each other. And then we explore what the loneliness of a serial killer who's trying to assimilate to society, what would that look like on the outside looking in? Well, it would be boring for them. They're just trying to, and that's Celeste. And then Bethany came up with this amazing backstory of a cult, and that's why she's a serial killer. And she meets this woman who is everything she wants to be. So we said, yeah, it's David Bowie. So we styled her like Ziggy Stardust. And if anyone saw that, thank you. And then that was really, that movie became, my love for genre film. And that's where I ended up. I want to do horror. I want to do genre. And I got to do so much within that movie, which was like the Hitchcock homages. There's even Cassavetes homages. We dressed her like Woman Under the Influence. Like, it was just such a freeing experience to go from doing sort of like, I did a drama, I did a comedy, I did a drama, and then I was like, I want to do something where I'm just completely free, and that was genre film. And we just kind of went nuts with it. We were like, let's just write a funny serial killer story.
Great.
That's it.
All right. So we'll do a little bit of a free-for-all, whoever wants to actually fill us in here. Tell us about some of the nuts and bolts. How did you put your team together, and how did you put your financing together? The big mystery. Volunteers?
All right, I'll go first. I don't care. So I own all my equipment, so the funding was easy. I learned that from Stanley Kubrick. Yes, problematic, but also smart. So he said, if you own your equipment, you can shoot whatever you want, right? And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. So as a photographer, I had a lot of gear. And so we just had to sort of get some money together for locations, for makeup, and things like that. And I've been sort of making films like that the whole time, which is like, I don't want to go on anyone else's schedule. I just want to shoot when I can and when I want to. And that set us up for this TV show that we just did. Because I was like, well, we could do it on their budget because I own everything. And so funding is a little bit easier when you know the nuts and bolts of your equipment. And yes, you're held back slightly. And yes, you should have a DP and you should do things a certain way. But when you can't raise the money, it's better to know the equipment and to know photography and to understand how to do it. And you know what? You don't have to do it perfectly. But if you do it well, people will watch it and they'll be forgiving, and you're able to then put money into other places and make it look really expensive. So, great. Yeah.
I think the trick. I'm sorry, were you going to jump in? I just think that the trick is, it was funny. I'm sitting here with Alex. We hadn't seen this film in a while, and it was shocking how many shots we stole all over that thing. It's just like all those locations were just set up a camera. Kind of, it was pretty hard to be low key about that camera because it's such a monster. But you just place it in the right spot and let it roll. don't draw a lot of attention to yourself, and we got away with a lot of stuff. And I find that the barrier for entry is a lot cheaper once you get outside the sort of like city area, right? People get a little more excited about letting you shoot in their locations. It's like, hey, can we shoot in this laundromat? We got $100. You know, it's like, goes a long way. So I always tell, you know, up and coming filmmakers to just, you know, shoot first and then ask for permission, and get the hell out of New York City if you can help it, because people are a lot more accommodating outside of town.
For 15, it was really just, I think we wrote the script in like a day or two, and then there was a weekend that we had gear for a different shoot, and we were just like, hey, we can get this done in a day. And we just, for a few days, we just walked up and down Soho, Lower East Side, I should say, and we went to every bar, and we found this little Ukrainian, Russian woman, and we were like, 500? And she was like, okay, be out by 5 p.m. And we had to like rush because, you know, that's when the bar opens up or whatever, so we were on a tight schedule. Everybody made SAG scale. So we didn't spend a lot of money on that film. My DP Snyder's here. Him and the crew, they probably worked for sandwiches or something. I don't know. When I was watching the film, I was like, man, I feel like I owe people money, because we probably spent like $3,000 all in, like on the entire production. So it's pretty cool to be here.
Great.
It shows you, even on a small budget, you could get noticed.
Yeah. All right. Go, please.
Oh, just I had a little thing to add. I mean, just the crew for Generation Lockdown were mostly all folks that I work with on feature films, so they were like friends, and you know, my DP and all of my production designers, all those folks were like super like high level, like, you know, we all work together, so they love doing this. But the thing I wanted to say is that we had so many donations of locations and everything, you know, just. The camera package from Panavision was a donation. The entire sound mix from Goldcrest was a donation, because people were passionate. These companies were also passionate about the subject matter, and it was just a matter of asking and using those relationships that we had, but also, you know, pitching the idea of it. And everybody said yes. What can I do? What can I give you? How can I help? So sometimes, you know, the subject matter of the film will open up those doors. So we were very lucky with that. Yeah. So.
Anything, Aviva? You don't have to show us.
No,
what's in
I
there.
mean, working with other friends is very helpful, and then also working on their short films. So that's kind of the name of the game. And then just like befriending people who had the house and the liquor store, like getting everything you can for free as much as possible, and trying to help pay those other people as well. So, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about casting. Where did you all find your leads, as well as any other smaller roles? Did you go into this knowing who you were casting? Did you have casting calls, etc.? Anyone?
Yeah, well, I mean, we you know, Caleb was we knew Caleb was going to play Caleb. And then Judy Henderson, who's a friend of mine, who's a casting director, that we did a couple of movies together. She did the casting and found Josh, that was just brilliant, like, you know, meant to be. And then a lot of the kids were from the community that we shot in Teaneck, and again, like a lot of community, you know, participation. So, you know, and we shot in a school in Teaneck, and you know, so we got a lot of kids from there as well. So, yeah.
So like I said, me and Mac, who plays the lead, Tristan Mac-Wiles, he and I were playing pool all the time, so when we decided to write it together, he always knew he wanted to be the lead, and then we had to find somebody to be the antagonist. And a friend of ours, Givion Joseph, who plays Jones, we invited him out to play pool with us. He didn't know it was an audition, but it was an audition. So we're like, you know how to play pool? And he's like, I'm pretty good. I'm like, all right. So he's in there, and then they naturally get competitive playing. I don't know if his like intuition just picked up that I need to do a good job, because we were thinking if we don't have guys that can make the shots, we're gonna be there all day. Even if you see some of the shots in the film, like we have like 10 minutes to go, that last crazy 8-ball shot, and we're like, Mac, you have to make it, or we're gonna have to like, because we didn't want it to be where, you know, those cheesy like basketball movies where you just see the ball go through the net. Right. We didn't want to have to do that. We wanted to show you the wide of him actually making the shot. So that was the main casting, was figuring out who could play. We were just walking around asking people if they could play, like all our actor friends. You know how to play pool? I was like, nah, I never played. Why? I'm like, don't worry about it. And then the bartender, his name is Mark Vincent. Somebody, I think we put a little casting out, and then somebody saw it and was like, I know someone who would be good for this. And when we saw his tape, we were like, this guy's like Sylvester Stallone. Like, he has that, like... So that wasn't what we were looking for originally for the character, but it was just like, it just works. Like, so we just rewrote it around his performance.
Anyone else casting?
Oh, casting. I saw a lot of plays, like off Broadway plays, and have worked with the directors previously. So Eli the Man I found in a play, and then Nina, the girl, she was through other shorter exercises just throughout school, and once you know how to work with someone, it's really fun, and they trust you, and vice versa. So that was kind of, I did have a casting director, but I never found anyone that I liked via that person. So I ended up choosing people that I worked with before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I did it too. Paul was one of the supporting characters in one of my first short films called Yellow, and he just has this incredibly soulful presence. And so I wrote it with him in mind, and he was down to get on a canoe and paddle around.
Bethany is, she was sleeping with the director, so we just said, Bethany is an amazing comedic actor as well as a dramatic actor, and she can sort of bounce between those two brilliantly. Like I never saw anything like it, and so we knew that we were going to write this for her, and then she just had Palmyra, and I'm like, Pal, I'm writing a British lead, and she's like, I'm not British, and I'm like, you certainly sound it. Like, where is she from again? Like, not South Africa. South Africa, something, yeah. It was very funny, and so then we just cast them because I was like, they have amazing chemistry, and then I just did the voiceover at the beginning and found a couple of friends to do the rest.
So none of you did casting calls, right? None of you like put an ad out and did the classic process.
We did like we did kind of like a casting for the extras, but it was more just like send your headshot, this, that. Do you know how to follow directions?
I did. I learned on this new project that we did. We worked with Matthew Maisto, who's amazing. He's an incredible casting director. That was the first time we used one, and that was an incredible experience. And I highly recommend it because it is truly an art form.
Yeah, I work with Kristen Palladino quite often. She's one of my favorite casting directors, and she definitely helped connect some dots on this project as well.
All right. So what? I mean, it's a short. But I am curious. I always ask feature filmmakers this question, but I want to ask you guys: Did your stories, did the films change a lot or a little from script to production to post production, and if so, how?
Well, on my project, we kind of made it up as we went along, because it was like I said, it was sort of this lens test amorphous concept, and so based off of all of the different locations that we came across, we just decided to place scenes there. So that was kind of the fun exploratory part of Missing, was we knew what the overarching storyline was, but you could kind of create these different little vignettes based off of locations.
I think for 15, one of the interesting things, the day that we went to scout the location, there was some people playing pool in there, and there was a guy who was playing pool who had that leopard jacket on that you see Jones wearing at the start of the film. And we just went to talk to him, why do you have that on, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm a stylist. And we were like, well, we're shooting a film. can we borrow your jacket?
That was a great jacket.
And he was like, yes, I'll deliver the jacket. I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. So he literally came with that jacket, and that evolved the relationship between the characters, because as soon as we saw that feline kind of fur, we were like, okay, you're the pool shark, but like he's your prey. So if you see the way he's crawling around the table and stuff, like that was all informed from us finding this jacket and being like, we really want you to play this animal. Like you're literally like, you're like just playing with your prey. So that kind of evolved and elevated the tone. The script was the same, but it was just the way we approached it.
Interesting. Yeah, great.
Yeah, for us with this one, I wrote it. I pace a lot, right, and then I'll think about something for like 4 or 5 months, and then I'll write it in a just one giant vomit, right? And I wrote this thing, and I gave it to Bethany, and I'm like, what do you think? She's like, I can't believe this. It's done. I was like, it's the first draft. She's like, I know, but it's perfect. I was like, okay, so we punched up a couple of lines, and then we just did it. But now working on something that's a longer form, it's totally different. You really have to go back and do a lot of rewrites and a lot of thinking and a lot of pacing. But Lonely Hearts was probably the easiest script we ever wrote.
Well, for Generation Lockdown, was the kind of conceptual section at the end always planned in the script, or was that something you guys found in post-production?
No, the film is almost exactly what the script was, except that when we were shooting, we needed to save a little time, so it kind of collapsed a couple of scenes in the middle of the lockdown. But no, the script was written exactly like that. The thing that was surprising, though, it was like we put so much time and effort into like what the visual effects would be, like how we were going to pull off him like floating up into the sky, into heaven, and and lifting, and we had green screens, and I think at some point I was like, I think we're going to have to put him on like a harness and all this stuff, and it just never really worked. And the simplest thing was to like literally just do it as simply and clean, like as easy as you could think, like just take the camera and just go down. And then when he was floating, it was literally just two people like lifting his feet. Yeah, just like me and someone else like just lifting his feet off the ground. And that just was like really funny, because we had spent so much time trying to figure out how we were going to get him to float, and it was
Can you still lift him right now?
And then like the pool shot, like that was like, yeah, got to have that pool shot, that it was basically the DP up on a ladder, and shooting Caleb, over and over again, falling back in. But then the editor did something brilliant, which was, like extended the pool to make it look huge, but it wasn't. It was a real medium shot. But so that was like just beautiful, and took my breath away. Even didn't expect that. So, so yeah, it was really simple. Like the water, at his feet was just a little kiddie pool, So, but the bigger pool was just like, a friend's pool, so backyard pool. So it was just like really cool to put it all together, but definitely that's how it was all written, for sure. Yeah.
I love that. That's the magic, right? When
Yeah.
you do stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's like the magic of it all.
Yeah, because you just kind of think, well, I'm going to make this work because I've got water, I've got kids, I've got, good lighting and tears. We can make tears, we can put it together. Almost, that's probably more my experimental background, was like, we got this, we can figure this out, we could do it.
Aviva, any from script to production to post-production, was it
Pretty similar.
as planned?
Yeah. I wrote it exactly kind of how I imagined it. And then also that kind of bled into writing a feature that I then worked on for a long time. So it's, I don't know, maybe that's like film school 101, but like you should always have something example of something that you're then going to make that's larger, and it's always good to, very similar to what I imagined.
Okay.
Yeah.
So very briefly, because we don't have much more time, what are you guys all doing now? we'll just do that. What are you guys all doing? What's next for everyone? Yeah. Here, start here. Let's start here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've been saying take a shot every time I say TV show. We just finished a TV show. We worked on it for 3 years. It's coming out on Screenbox TV. It's called The Trouble with Tessa. It is nothing like Lonely Hearts. It's more of a drama, mystery, horror, thriller. I like to say that it's as if David Fincher directed his favorite Stephen King novel, and that is coming out on July 15th. It premieres on Screenbox, and you can get Screenbox anywhere you have a streaming service like Roku or Amazon or whatnot.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
What are we doing now? So Mac and I, and actually Giviot also, the three of us, and a few people in this room, DP Snyder, a talented sound guy, Phil, talented reality TV producer, Jessica. We started a film collective called Surrounded by Water. So we have like a film showcase of our own coming up, and we have a bunch of like new projects that we've produced, a couple that I wrote, one that I directed. So we're really into the development mode, trying to sell some projects and things like that. And funny story, 15 actually, a company that Fox owns, a streamer that Fox owns, they almost brought the film. We got the contracts and everything, but it was a whole big thing of how they wanted to change everything around. So we've learned a lot about kind of owning your IP and like sticking to it. So we're kind of taking our time to work smarter than harder and just trying to bring these projects to the screen the way we want them to look.
Great.
Yeah.
I am developing a couple of other projects. One I'm writing, which is a feature film that deals with mental health and kids, like youth and depression, suicide, and roller skating across America. So sort of a cross-country skating story. And I've been working on it for a little bit too long, but I'm hopefully going to be finished with it soon. But it's sort of loosely inspired by an event that I produced in '94 where I did have 6 inline skaters skate from San Francisco to New York for AIDS. It was an AIDS event and an awareness event, and so I wanted to do something in this space again.
I'm still working as an advertising director and picking up gigs when I can, thankfully. And in the meantime, I'm in development on my first feature. Working title's Weightless, and it's about a down-and-out former Evel Knievel style stuntman.
So I'm still writing, and I work for the Swedish government. So I'm the head of culture and public affairs. So I work with a lot of like promotion of like Scandinavian and Nordic film, and we do retrospectives at Film Forum, and we do programming at Museum of Moving Images. So I'm from both sides, kind of. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out, everyone. Congratulations on finally showing your films here.
Yes, thank you.